Last week, I had made a presentation to a team of client executives on a related topic. So I thought I could share this with you all. The great resignation is going on, and I'm not sure there is a silver bullet solution for this problem. It's highly complicated. But I thought I could share some key lessons from my own experience of cutting attrition to less than 5%. I had gotten into my dream job, that of the global CIO of Cognizant. And the attrition at that time was worse than company average by more than 8 points, and that's a significant problem. The employee engagement scores were poor. There was a lot of problems, and if you have ever worked for an internal IT department of a large consulting or tech firm, most people don't want to work in that department. Everybody wants to work on client engagements. So that only compounded the problem of attrition, right? Because internal people also didn't want to work for us. But we still decided to set ourselves an ambitious target of getting to less than 5% in the next 3 years. Now, when you want to influence employees, typically you get 3 types of responses. One is they resist the change that you're trying to bring in. Second type of response is to comply with it because a senior exec such as yourself said it. The type of response we want is actually the third kind, which is commitment, where they put their heart and soul into the job. They put in the discretionary effort into it. So that is the kind of response we want to produce. And research shows that there are 9 kinds of influencing tactics. And I wouldn't belabor the point on all the things. You can read the list yourself. Recently, grateful to my colleague Phil Stockbridge from the world of coaching who works at Cognizant, he shared with me a paper that you can actually download and read. It's on the internet. It shows that inspiration is the number one technique for influencing people. If you follow this graph carefully, it produces 90% commitment and all 0 resistance. It's a remarkable statistics. While you may argue with the exact numbers, I think they are correct. So maybe you will see a little bit of resistance. Now all these influencing techniques are quite straightforward from their names and you may know all of them. But this one, legitimating, caught my attention. I didn't know what that was, and I'm not sure you all know either. Whenever we run initiatives in large corporates, we tend to drop the names of the CEO or some big shot CXO, and we expect that people will do whatever the big shots want. This statistic shows, surprisingly, that legitimating produces 0% commitment. And it produces almost 50% resistance. Now, speaking for myself, I never liked this name dropping that people do, but I didn't realize that as an influencing technique, it is such a poor strategy. So if you're doing that or you see people doing that, maybe you want to point them at this paper. The question now becomes, how do we inspire people? Right? Inspiration is good, but how do we do it? And what we discovered by accident is to set extreme objectives, which I talked about in the past in this series. So in the One Cognizant program that we did, the IT transformation, we set ourselves these 3 ambitious goals. That there should be no change management or training to use the IT applications. Applications should deliver 500% productivity gain. And it should be super fast, 500 millisecond response time. When we announced these goals, there was eye-rolling skepticism, and even I wasn't sure we could do it, but what the heck, let's try it, right? That's what we did. Now, I'll just explain one of these. How did I come up with this 500%? I made the observation that IT departments routinely try 15 to 20% productivity gain. Now, if you're working for a large company with hundreds of thousands of people like I did, by the time the software rolls out and everybody adopts, the change management costs overwhelm that 15 to 20% gain. Maybe sometimes you wind up in the negative territory. So that's why I said we should do 500%. So there was a scientific meaning behind all of these goals, but I wasn't sure that we could achieve it. Now this is where I consider myself lucky because of the kind of team that I had who agreed to pursue this with me for the most part. Now, as a researcher into the field of innovation, and I've talked about some of these examples before, including that of the trim tab, Almost all major transformations in the world used extreme objectives to inspire their people. And Steve Jobs is well known for it. In fact, he is known to have something people call reality distortion field. Now, when I dug deeper into what that is, he made people believe that they can achieve these extreme objectives. For example, the smartphone with no buttons. At that time, that was not thought possible, right? But his team went ahead and did it, and the rest is history. And there are many examples such as that from Steve Jobs' life. So, extreme objectives are a crucial component of inspiring people. Now, it gets better further. It turns out that inspiration is probably the best employee engagement tool. Research shows that inspired employees are happier, more engaged, they progress on the goals faster, and chase even more inspiring goals. It creates a virtuous cycle. They feel more purposeful and they feel more gratitude, which is essential for happiness. And what about learning, right? One of my favorite books is The Fifth Discipline. It is a little bit of a hard book to read, but I've been reading it many times over the last 25 years since I came across it. Every time I have a question, I go and consult this book to see what Peter Senge has said. And in the most recent attempt at reading the book, I spotted this quote that he had included from Edward Hall, an anthropologist. He has this statement: humans are the learning organism par excellence, and he says that learning drive is as strong as the sexual drive, and it begins earlier and lasts longer. So learning is super important for human beings. But then unfortunately in the corporate, like I said, we set typically 15 to 20% kind of targets. And usually people are able to achieve this without learning new methods. Whereas when you set an extreme objective, such as what we did, 500% productivity gain, 500 milliseconds, we didn't know how to do it. And that forced us to adopt newer techniques like lean startup, design thinking. So many new ideas that we had to incorporate into our program that there is several more that I haven't really named, and we had to come up with all those innovations to make that happen. So it is very important to set extreme objectives even from a learning perspective. Now, how did we do on the target? I'm happy to say that we did hit that less than 5% target. And I think that is unheard of in internal IT departments, especially in an IT services firm. I was so happy and proud of my team that we got that done. And we achieved the business outcomes, right? We created a $1 billion plus business impact in the 3 years that this program was on when I was there. And it achieved several more objectives. It got us so many more awards. People were very happy, and many people felt that this was a very inspirational journey in their life. So it correlates very well with the notion that inspiration is probably the most important employee engagement tool out there. And hopefully you will also consider inspiration and extreme objectives a key part of your strategy.